with that understanding, I guess I'd have to be grateful that it happened. I certainly didn't feel that way at the time. This was horrific. I was so traumatized beyond belief. When I woke up, it was cold outside and dark, and there was a light above me. I looked to see where the light was coming from, and the artist did the best he could with what it looked like, but it was actually kind of went off just as I looked. So I don't know whether a hatch closed or there was some kind of a light fixture that was turned off or whatever, but it was only there for a second after that, shot up into the sky quietly. It wasn't making the sound that the one in the woods made. The one in the woods was generating the weirdest sound. It was vibrating the whole truck. The crew was saying that it was, you could feel it in the steering wheel, Mike said. The guys, put their hand on the truck. It was off the range of human hearing on the high end and the low end, with all kinds of alternating frequencies that, when you hear a sound that's, goes up in frequency until it's out of your hearing range, it kind of has a funny effect as it, moves into that higher range. The same thing with the super bass low frequency that was vibrating the truck. You were feeling it in your body as much as you were hearing it with your ear. And it gave a very sort of an intimidating, sort of powerful feeling. That was part of what made it look so awesome, the feeling of energy that was coming from it. And the guys in the truck said that right before that beam hit me, that said it seemed like something was about to happen. It was like there was a charge building up, the kind of thing that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. And so I think that was an accident, but a very unfortunate accident. I could recognize this stretch of road. I saw the lights of the town down below, and even though it was dark, and my most recent memory was a state of total panic, I felt this sense of relief and ran down towards the town. I got down there, pounded on the door of the first building with lights on, and nobody came. Either, this was the middle of the night I found out, but perhaps no one was up at that hour, or perhaps they thought there's a crazy man out there, we better not go answer the door. But I was yelling and pounding. But I went on down across the next bridge and came to a row of telephone booths. I went in, picked up the phone, it was out of order. I felt like I'd used up my last ounce of strength. But I went into the next one and it worked. And people say, well, did you put in money or something like that? That's not the way the phones were there at that time. You could just pick it up, and if you wanted to talk to the operator, you could talk to the operator. And I did make a collect call to my relatives. And my brother-in-law thought it was another crank call. The family had been having prank calls. As soon as that hit the news media, isn't it crazy that there are people out there like that, Something like that, and they're going to go torment the family and call them up and say all kinds of stupid stuff. Here the family is grieving, that maybe somebody's dead, maybe we'll never see him again, and they got to be ha funny, call up and make jokes. Well, my brother-in-law says, I think you got the wrong number. Like he was going to hang up. I screamed at ground, it's me, and I convinced him it was me, and he's kind of hesitant, but he says, okay, I'll get your brother and come and get you. I thought, my brother, he's in Phoenix, that's, 3 hours away. I didn't understand because I thought it was still the same night. When they come and picked me up, my brother said something about what my mother had been through in those days of the search, and I didn't understand. He said, Travis, feel your face. And I could feel that I had a 5-day growth of beard. And then I looked at my watch and the date had changed. And for some reason, I'd been tried to get it out and tell him what I had been through, but at that point, I just couldn't even talk anymore. I just kind of went catatonic. And so they went back, took me to my mom's, and they siphoned some gas out of some other vehicles. All the gas stations in town were closed at that hour. And my brother decided that he wasn't going to turn it over to the sheriff. They'd been getting some calls that were pretty ominous. This one lady said that she had been a nurse working in a hospital where an old couple had encountered a UFO, and they were in pretty bad shape over it. When she came back on shift the next shift, that couple was gone, their records were gone, and everybody saying, no, that never happened, and so she was saying, just be careful who gets a hold of them, because they're going to try to erase this. And the same thing with a call from a guy that said he had been employed by the CIA. He was retired. He said, I'm old now, but he said, just be careful who gets a hold of him. And so, my brother didn't want to turn him over to the sheriff. There was a kind of a hostile relationship there on account of the accusations of murder. And of course, the sheriff was posturing to the world media. I mean, he was getting calls from all over the world, that, he's not accepting this, this is a murder or whatever, So there was no turning me over to the sheriff. And his main concern was, this guy's got to get some medical treatment right away. And, he did his own examination on me there. He reported some of the stuff that he'd found to the doctor that he brought me to the next morning. And it was a madhouse. It was a battle of the media, the UFO skeptics immediately, bombarding with accusation after accusation. It was just ridiculous. Some of the stuff was just so easily disproved. If they had just done a little checking, it was not that big a deal. But they'd put it out there just because, they wanted to have something to say. And I wasn't talking, I was hiding out from the media. So then they start saying, oh, Walton has not spoken to the media. This casts doubt on the report. Well, and then as soon as I did start talking, oh, he's talking to the media. It must be a publicity stunt. So damned if you do and damned if you don't.